Hello, Petals. How you doing? So, still feeling a little bit rough, but we're going to give it a try because it's only a little chapter. It's only 6 pages, so we can definitely give it a go. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for your support. I appreciate each and every single one of you for being the wonderful people you are. And to be perfectly honest, this channel wouldn't be here without you. So thank you very, very much for your support and understanding for my incredibly flaky year. My goodness gracious. So, as ever, let me know how you're doing. Let me know how things are, how you're going, how you're getting on. Just even the silly little stuff's fine. I don't mind. It's always good to hear about. So we've got chapter 4 of Here Comes the Sun by our beloved Mr. Thomas Holt. It's a strange feeling, knowing that someone else has been inside your head, halfway between having a beetle down the back of your neck and being burgled. Now, Jane's first instinct on getting home after an afternoon at work, when she had got precisely nothing done, was to wash her hair. But it didn't really do the trick somehow. She still felt that sensation, irritating more than anything else, of being bunged up with something, the way you feel after you've been underwater and got water trapped inside your ear. Holding her nose and trying to blow through it didn't really achieve anything either, however. Silence made it worse, and so she switched on the television. At first, the mixture of irritation and fascination inspired in her by the discovery of a brand new Australian soap opera distracted her, and she spent at least 6 minutes sitting in front of the screen trying to work out whether Terry was Gloria's sister or Tracy's boyfriend's son, and then she started to get the unpleasant feeling that all the voices were inside her head, and several generations of brown-skinned, bright-eyed Aussies were conducting their tangled personal relationships right in between her ears. Hurriedly, she flipped channels and watched 3 minutes of a cookery programme before switching off and trying the stereo instead. Now that seemed to work. She remembered that, for all its apparent show of bravado, she'd got the distinct impression that the voice had sounded apprehensive when she threatened to flush it out with music. She selected 50 favourite marches by the Band of the Coldstream Guards, a present from an elderly uncle with a very odd notion of generosity, put on her headphones and sat down. After 10 minutes, Lily Bolero, Colonel Bogey, The Girl I Left Behind Me, and incredibly, When I'm 64, narrator's note, if you've ever seen the Royal Tattoo, I think it's called in Edinburgh, awesome. I always liked the bit with the race between the Navy and the, was it Navy? They did the gun barrels, and no, Portsmouth and Plymouth. They would do the race between the gun barrels between the two and go backwards and forwards. But I always loved the marching bands. Being an army kid, naturally you're brought up with them, so it's an amazing thing. But why on earth? I mean, I love the Beatles, don't get me wrong, but why on earth do they always play When I'm 64? I digress. Jane came to the conclusion that demoniacal possession was a damn sight better than premature deafness, and turned the music off too. She made a cup of tea. "All right," she said. "I know you're in there. Come out." Absolute silence, both internal and external. Perhaps, she said to herself, I'm going mad. This possibility, or how the milk's gone off, I'll have to use powdered, hadn't occurred to her before. But her innate sense of logic recommended it to her more strongly as an explanation consistent with the known facts. If it was the right explanation, it would require serious thought and quite possibly a major adjustment to her lifestyle. Now, girls who hear voices inside their heads have only 2 options. They can raise armies and drive the English out of Aquitaine, or they can seek professional help. "I wouldn't do that," said the voice. "You're not like her at all." Jane relaxed. She wasn't going mad after all. "Out," she said firmly, "where I can see you." "Very well." The man materialised against the worktop, picked up her cup of tea and sipped it. She switched the kettle back on and took another mug down from the rack. "Not like who?" she said. "Joan of Arc," the man replied. "Funny girl, our Joan. Not mad, not by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely the sort that gives sanity a bad name. That's my tea you're drinking. The milk's off, by the way. In addition to which, the man went on, because she spent so much time in a helmet, she had the most appalling build-up of wax in her ears. It really puts you off, that sort of thing. You've just made that up, Jane said. The man grinned. 10 out of 10 for intuition, he replied. You're quite right. When Joan of Arc was around, I wasn't more than a niggling little theory at the back of the European subconscious. I got all that stuff from one of the blokes in our department. Claims he invented the wax cotton jacket back in the 15th century, just through having to crawl in and out of her ears all the time. Fascinating, Jane replied. Look, is there any point to this persecution, or is it just my bad luck? I must add, at this point, that I'm not the slightest bit frightened of you. You're not? No. Oh, shit. That's a nuisance. I have this theory about fear as an organic component of any fully integrated recruitment program. The man sipped his tea thoughtfully, and Jane observed that level in the cup hadn't changed at all. The little white flecks that signified needled milk, however, had vanished. Now, that's odd, she said. I thought your lot was supposed to turn fresh milk sour, not the other way around. Static electricity, the man replied, sipping again and pulling a face. Personally, I hate fresh milk. It sets my teeth off edge. 9 out of 10 for observation, by the way. Only 9? Jane inquired as the kettle boiled. Why's that? Because, the man replied, you should have recalled that milk was fresh on the doorstep this morning, and it's been in the fridge all day. It's my presence that turned it bad, and now I'm doing the decent thing and turning it good again, by reversing the flow of ions temporarily. You can do that, can you? Oh, yes, the man replied, widening his grin as an archer draws his bow. I'm very versatile. You might say that I've got a lot of irons in the fire. You might say that, yes. Jane dropped a tea bag into her cup and poured water onto it from the kettle. It was stone cold. Childish, she said. The man lifted his left foot like a horse being shod and inspected the sole of his shoe. Not really, he replied. Empty it out and have a look. Jane scowled at him and tipped the cup out into the sink. There was a clatter, and she saw 4 or 5 little lumps of what looked like glass. Diamonds, the man remarked casually. Produced by electrolysis. They're not stable, mind, he added, as Jane scrabbled frantically for them. They'll turn back into quick-dissolving sugar in a moment. Just you see. So they did. Jane drew her breath in sharply. You haven't answered my question, she said. Nor have I, the man replied. He sat down on the kitchen stool, picked up a slice of Battenberg that Jane had been saving for a rainy day. Now it is not. I frickin' love Battenberg cake. Doesn't love me, but oh my goodness gracious, I have got to tell you. There's right next to cinnamon is my love of marzipan. I only ever have it once a year, and it's at Christmas time. I don't celebrate Christmas, but it's at Christmas time. Because at Christmas time, Lidl's come out with these little marzipan bars. And they're like marzipan, and they're coated in dark chocolate. And the only time I can get it is in Lidl's at Christmas time. So, like, I get them, and then I put them in the freezer, and then you get them out. And just before they're off the thaw, they're just a nice little chewy treat. Oh my goodness gracious! I have to get the little ones though, because if I ate the kind of like the larger version, yeah, my teeth would not like me. Anywho, I digress. I'm so sorry about that. Ahem. You haven't answered my question, she said. Nor have I, the man replied. He sat down on the kitchen stool, picked up a slice of Battenberg that Jane had been saving for a rainy day, and bit into it. Its surface area remained undiminished, despite the crunching noises the man was making. Now it is not also Christmas cake with royal icing. Layer of royal icing with a layer of marzipan, and then proper fruit cake underneath. Oh, I haven't got a sweet tooth, so I like the sour and the bitter with the sweet, because it kind of works. I think that's why I like marzipan. Anyway. Its surface area remained undiminished, despite the crunching noises the man was making. "Another proverb bites the dust," he observed, with his mouth full. "You want to know why I'm haunting you?" "I thought you said you weren't a ghost." "I'm not. I'm a—" He hesitated. "You're a devil," Jane said calmly. "I'd gathered that." But the man was frowning disapprovingly. "Not a devil," he said. "We don't use that word. It's got overtones. We consider that word pejorative and demeaning. We are a distinct metaphysical group with our own unique cultural and spiritual identity, and I'd be grateful if you would respect that." Jane nodded. "Okay," she said. "I can understand that. Just about. What are you, then?" The man's frown deepened slightly, and he put the cake back, apparently untouched, on the plate he had taken it from. "On the whole," he said, "we don't hold with generalizing descriptive nouns. We firmly believe that each and every being in the cosmos is an individual, and—" "Yes," Jane said, folding her arms. "That's fine. You're an individual. An individual what, though?" "We don't like to—" "Come on." "Well—" The man seemed distinctly embarrassed now. He picked up the salt cellar, shook a little out onto the palm of his hand, and threw it over his right shoulder. "If pressed, we prefer to describe ourselves as daemons." "Demons." "Daemons," the man corrected her, hammering up the diphthong. "From the Greek daemon, meaning a spirit, supernumerary god, or preternatural entity. We feel—" "But your leader is Satan, right?" The man now looked distinctly offended. "Wrong," he said. "Look, when you go out and buy takeaway chicken, you don't honestly believe that the business is still run by a 70-year-old Texan colonel with a little white beard, do you? It's the same with us. We've kept the name, I suppose, or at least parts of the corporate identity, but we've moved on a long way from those days, I can tell you. We've diversified our interests into completely new areas, like the mafia." "Not like the mafia. Like Rupert Murdoch, or Howard Hughes even. We really aren't in the same business that we used to be in at all, even, say, 200 years ago." "Don't tell me," Jane said. "You're moving into the area of communications and information technology, or financial services, maybe. I could believe that," she added thoughtfully. "No, it is not, so could I. Let me make you a cup of tea." Jane shuddered involuntarily. "No, thank you," she said. "I like my tea made with wet water and organic tea leaves. I don't imagine there's much of either of those in any cup of tea you'd make." "You're being very hostile," the man said. "And you still haven't answered my question," Jane replied sweetly. "Why me?" "Like I said," the man replied, "we want to offer you a job." "As a devil!" "No thanks." "Will you please not use that word?" "You look rather silly when you're upset," Jane observed, "and not at all the way I'd expect a demon— Damon, I hope I pronounced it right."
"Perfectly. And how should I look?"
"Don't change the subject. I know the one about Jesus wanting me for a sunbeam, but I reckon your idea's a little bit over the top, don't you?" The man sighed, and Jane suddenly felt a pang of sympathy for someone else who'd had a very long day. "I'm sorry," she said. "Tell me about the job." The man looked suitably grateful.
"Thank you,"
he said. "And I'm sorry I sneezed you earlier," Jane added. "That was an accident, actually. Honest, I get hay fever sometimes in the summer."
"How unpleasant for you. Basically, the job—"
"Yes?" The man thought for a moment.
"Actually," he said, "it's a bit tricky to put into words, really. If I could just pop into your head for a moment—"
"I'd rather you didn't," Jane said quickly, and then added, "But thank you for asking anyway."
"Okay, then," the man said. "I'll see what I can do just explaining it verbally, and we'll take it from there. Basically—" "Oh, nuts!"
Jane looked startled. "What is it?" The man looked sheepish.
"It's my bleeper," he admitted. "I'm on call, you see. Can I possibly borrow your phone a minute?"
Jane suppressed a giggle. You're the duty devil tonight, are you?
Will you please
be my guest, she said. It's in the other room. Not long distance, is it? The man made a sort of simpering noise.
Not at all, he said. It's about 1.5 miles to my office, as the lift shaft plummets.
He walked through, shutting the door behind him. Somehow Jane managed to keep herself from listening at the keyhole. The door opened, and the man's face appeared around it.
Sorry about this, he said. Something's cropped up. I've got to dash back to the office. Look, can you forget about all of this for the time being, and we will talk later?
Jane nodded. Though I can't promise to forget all about it.
Don't you worry about that, the man said. And I'll take care of the phone bill too. Thanks for the tea.
He vanished. Jane stood stock still for about 20 seconds. Then she blinked twice, shook herself, and realised that she was in the flat. Funny, she said aloud. I can't remember taking my coat off. She considered the matter for a while, until something at the back of her subconscious assured her that it really wasn't worth worrying about. Instead, she decided she'd have a nice cup of tea and a slice of cake, wash her hair, then watch the telly for an hour or so before going to bed.
Ooh! What's going on? Why has our Mr. Ganger been called away? Oh my goodness, what can be going on? Now, I've got to tell you about something that one of my dear besties and I have in common, and that is a great love of words. And I believe I have mentioned a couple of them previously, but she came up with one this week, which is absolutely glorious, and that is forewallowed. And that is feeling tired after a night of tossing and turning in bed. So really the state of being for most of us. So now we know it's forewallowed. I mean, we all like to wallow now and again, but forewallowed is yes. I actually feel this. Or actually, I've got another one to add to it as well, which is lethologica. The inability to articulate a thought due to forgetting a keyword, phrase or name. That's me every time I walk into a room. Do you have any favourite words? Dear, let us know. It can even be a curse word. You know, just give us a warning to cover our ears and our eyes and our nose before you see it, though, because we're all good here. But yes, any favourite words or phrases I would love to hear, because they're always fascinating. So yes, any that you've got, please let us know, even if they're the really long ones. I've always liked discombobulation, just purely because of how Rowan Atkinson used to say it. That was quite funny. I've gone off on a tangent now, so, I guess it's time to wind it all up and get myself ready for next week. Well, next couple of days, because I am on the mend. I think I feel a bit grotty in the mornings, but everything's getting a lot better, I'm sure. So, my lovely, dearest, lovely beans, please take care of yourselves. If you want to leave a little comment, let us know how you're doing. That would be awesome. As ever, can you hit that notifications bell? If you enjoyed the chapter, hit the like button, because I know you do, because you're amazing. You don't need reminding, but I gotta say it for the buds at YouTube, as we know, because we love them. Yes, and I've got to find out what's going on with Instagram, because that's not letting me post things, because it's being silly today. It's being silly. So I'm going to crack on and get on with the day, and hopefully things will continue to improve, and I will see you soon, Petal. Keep warm, keep safe. If you're too hot, have some hydration. If you're too cold, warm yourself up nice blankie. I've got a new blankie and it's amazing. It's so snuggly. Just in time for winter. Right, and before I go off on any more you see, exactly like that. Any more tangents, I'm off. Take care, Petal, and I'll see you soon.